So after our session today, I just want to make a couple of quick videos to cover some things that we talked about very briefly, but some people might need some extra information on or just need a refresher. So the first one I wanted to make was just some basics about Google Forms for people who are not very familiar with Google Forms or may have never used it before. So the first thing that you need to do in order to create a form is to get to your Google Drive. So if you're a Wake County public school teacher, you would go through your Wake ID portal. That ensures that you're opening up your Google Drive for your teacher account. So you would just click Google here. But you can also just go through the website, drive.google.com, which will also pull up your Google Drive. Just make sure that you're logged into the account that you actually want to save your things with. So if you have a personal Google account and a professional Google account, and you're making a form for professional use, then make sure you're signed in with your professional account so that it saves to the right spot. In order to create a form, you're going to go to the New button and then go to More and click on Google Forms. So this will create a new form for you to edit. Usually the first thing I like to do is give it some kind of title for whatever you're using it for. And then you can put a description on there if you want to let people know what this form is for. You can put instructions on there to let people know what you want them to do with this. It still says untitled form up here, so to fix that, just click up there and it'll put your title from down here. And then it always defaults with one question already in here for you, and it's usually multiple choice. So the first thing you want to decide is what's the first question that you want. And so if I'm using this to collect information about my students, then the logical first question to put would be student name. And forms will usually change the answer or the question type based on what you type in here. So sometimes it can guess what type of question you need. So you can see that it did that here. If I type in student name, then obviously I want a short answer text box for students to put their names in. Or if I'm collecting the information about them, for me to type their names in. So this is a pretty important question. I want to make sure everyone who fills out this form answers this question. So I'm going to click the required down here, and that will force people to answer this question, or else they will not be able to submit the form until this question is answered. So then I want to add a couple more questions. So I'm going to click on the add question plus sign. And so maybe I want students to tell me what class period of mine that they're in. You can use a multiple choice question for that. Another good option would be the drop-down menu. And give them some choices: first period, second period, third period. And again, you can make this required because this is information you need from every single person. I really like using forms to collect parent contact information at the beginning of the year. So the next question I might want to add is parent name. And it defaulted, or it automatically switched to a short answer for that. I need the contact information for at least parent, so at least one parent. So I'm going to make this question required as well. And then parent phone number would be good information to have. I'm not going to make that one required because maybe there's not a good phone number to reach. Parent email address. Again, it switches to short answer because it knows that that's the best kind for this type of thing. I'm not going to make that one required either because maybe the parent doesn't have a good email address to use or doesn't have one at all. And then a lot of times I like to ask how they like to be contacted. And so you can see, again, it's making some suggestions. I definitely want to add email and phone. And then I've started adding text message too, because some parents don't mind being contacted through text message, which makes it a lot easier. And then I'm going to make that one required because it's good to know how they want to be contacted. So these are just some basic question types that you can use if you're just using this for straight data collection. Um, some of the other question types in here, you've got, of course, got multiple choice. You can have a longer text box for answers if you need them to type more than just a couple of words. There's a checkbox question. So if you want them to be able to select multiple things instead of just one answer, you can use that one. If you need them to upload some type of file for you to have, you can use that one. The linear scale, I like using that if I use this for rubrics. So you can set it from 1 to 5 and assess things on that scale. And then multiple choice grid and checkbox grid is just another way to use those types of questions. It'll give you more options spaced out a little bit differently. And then you can also have a date question or a time question. And there are various reasons that you could have those types of questions. So one other simple thing, I hate just using the default purple background. So if you want to change the way that it looks up here, you come up here to this little color palette and you can change just the color. Or if you go to the image icon, they've got lots of different options to make it look so much better. So you can pick any of these. They've got all these categories over here on the side. So we'll go with a little galaxy theme. And so that just makes it look a little bit nicer. And then the next step, once you have the form created, all the questions you need people to answer, then you want to look at your settings first and make sure all the options there are what you need. So if you want it to collect email addresses, you can check that box. Response receipts, that just means that they have the option. You can either have them request it, like if they want a copy of the answers that they submitted, then you can allow that. Or if you just want to automatically send them their responses, I don't use that a whole lot. But collect email addresses, I always like to have that just so I can make sure that I have the right person. You can restrict it just to Wake County. So if you want to make sure, if this is going to students and you want to make sure they log in with their school email address, you can check that box. If you want people to only be able to answer one time and not be able to submit multiple responses, you can check that box. You also have the opportunity to allow people to edit after they submit. If they've messed up one of their answers, they could go back in. And then depending on what type of information or what type of form this is, you can also allow people to see other people's responses once they submit their form. So for this type of form that I've made for student information, obviously I don't want other people to see contact information, so I'm not going to check that one. The presentation tab up here, if it's a longer form or it has multiple sections, you can show a progress bar. For one this short, you don't really need it. Shuffle question order, so if you're using it as a quiz, that one's often helpful. And then if you've allowed them to submit more than one response, then you can check this box to allow them to submit another one. But since I didn't check that one's not available. And then once they submit the form, you can either, it'll default to this message, your response has been recorded, or you can choose your own message to type there. Sometimes I like to put, if this is collecting parent contact information, then I like to put my contact information here so that they'll have it automatically once they submit theirs. And then you would just save those settings once you have everything that you want. And then it's time to send it to the people that you want to send it to. So you can email it. This is a good way to do it if you just have a couple of people that need to fill this out. Or you can go to the middle tab, which is the link, and then you can copy and paste this link into Canvas or into a website or into a text message on Remind. And you also have the option to shorten it. Like if you wanted to post it on the board, then you could give them this link instead, which would be a lot easier. So don't forget, if you have any questions about this stuff, please don't hesitate to come see me.